Have you ever been caught in the quiet tension of no contact, wondering if they're thinking about you, missing you, or even regretting what happened? You pulled back, no texts, no calls, no liking their stories, thinking this will make them realize what they've lost. But here's the twist. What if they've gone no contact too? What if right now they're playing the same game, sitting in their silence, waiting for you to break first? It's a psychological tug-of-war where neither side wants to pull, but both are holding the rope. Two minds, equally stubborn, locked in a silent standoff. You thought your silence was your ultimate move, but what if it's their move too? Human beings are wired for connection, but we're also experts in defense. When someone we care about pulls away, our instinct is to react, to chase, explain, or fix things. But sometimes pulling away is the reaction. If they're not reaching out, neither will I. And just like that, the no contact loop begins. It's like two mirrors facing each other, reflecting endless silence back and forth. They're not calling. You're not calling. Both of you are convinced that the other doesn't care. When in reality, both are wondering the same thing. Why haven't they reached out? Imagine two mighty rivers flowing side by side, never touching, though their currents silently influence each other. That's what no contact often feels like. Two forces silently connected but unwilling to merge. Or picture two chess players sitting at a board, refusing to make the first move, not out of disinterest, but out of the fear of losing control. Now, if they're also doing no contact, does that mean they care? Does it mean they're missing you too, hoping like you for a sign? Oh, this is where it gets complicated. What if it's not love or longing driving their silence, but their ego? What if, while you're staying silent to make them see your worth, they're staying silent to protect theirs? You're hoping they'll wake up, realize what they've lost, and reach out. But they might be sitting there fueled by pride, thinking, let them come to me. It's a battle of emotions versus ego. You're driven by feelings. You want them to notice your absence, miss you, regret letting you go. But what if they're driven by something entirely different? What if their silence isn't about missing you at all, but about winning some imaginary power struggle in their mind? In the depths of human psychology, silence isn't always about longing. It can be about control. While you're holding back out of heartbreak, they might be holding back to preserve power. They might see reaching out as losing, as giving you the upper hand. And so they stay silent. Not because they don't care, but because caring would mean surrendering control. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." If their silence comes from ego, then breaking your silence won't bring the connection you hope for. It'll only feed their sense of control. They'll think they've won. But here's the twist. You're not playing that game. Let their ego keep them stuck. You're not here to compete for emotional dominance. You're here to reclaim your peace, your power, and your future. Stay silent, not for them, but for you, for your peace, for your self-respect. Their games don't define you, your actions do. So accept the challenge right now. Here's your task for today. Write this short phrase in the comments. I choose self-respect. Let me know that my words are landing where they need to, that I'm not just talking to the winds. Drop it in the comments, for once and for all. I choose self-respect. Declare it, own it. Because when you rise above the game, ego loses its grip. And that's a battle you've already won. Let's dive deeper because there's more they never expected. Number 1. The game they never admit they're playing. So folks, here you are in this no-contact phase, thinking you're making a bold move, pulling back your energy, reclaiming your peace. But wait, they're also doing the same thing. And it's not because they're heartbroken or deeply reflecting on what went wrong. No, it might be because of something far less noble, their ego. This is where things get even more confusing. You might check their social media and see them posting, laughing, living their so-called best life. You'll see them acting as if this whole no-contact thing doesn't even exist, as if they've moved on without a second thought. It's like they've mastered the art of looking unbothered. But trust me, it's all part of the game. Oh, and they're smart. They might have done this before, maybe even a lot. Think of a skilled poker player. They've got the perfect poker face, calm, unreadable, giving nothing away. They want you to think they're holding the winning hand, that they've got everything under control. But what if they're bluffing? What if their silence isn't confidence but fear of losing control? They know how to act like they've already won, as if this no-contact thing was their idea all along. You're watching them from the sidelines, thinking they've moved on. But what if their silence is just another manipulative move, a strategy, not a sign of emotional closure? They want to look like they're living their best life so you'll question yours. You see them smiling in new pictures, posting fun moments, and acting like you never mattered. But ask yourself this: why are they trying so hard to be seen? If they truly didn't care, would they need an audience? Would they need to perform happiness? Think about that one person we all know, the one who breaks up and suddenly becomes hyperactive on social media. Every story, every post seems crafted to scream, "I'm doing amazing." But deep down, they're just playing a role. They need you to see them because invisibility terrifies them. In relationships, people often play this game to stay in control. They post carefully edited highlights, pretending they've moved on, but behind the scenes, they're checking to see if you're watching. Their silence is a tactic, not closure. Their performance is the real confession. The philosopher Epictetus said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." They might be playing games, but how you respond defines the outcome. The secret is to stop reacting, to stop being a piece on their game board. When you refuse to participate, they lose their power. Admitting they're playing this game would mean admitting they still care. They can't afford that vulnerability. So they stay silent, but loud enough to be noticed. They'll keep the game going as long as you react, as long as you check, as long as you wonder. Their biggest fear isn't losing you, it's losing control over how you see them. Here's the truth: you win by not playing. Now, I know what you might be thinking. But if I don't respond, if I don't reach out, doesn't that mean I'm accepting defeat? Oh, not at all. This isn't surrender. This is strategy. Walking away from a game you can't win isn't losing. It's choosing freedom. It's understanding that not every battle is worth fighting, especially when the prize is just a fragile ego in disguise. Think of a tug-of-war match. You're holding one end of the rope, pulling with everything you've got. They're pulling back, not to win your heart, but to see how much control they still have. The harder you pull, the stronger the tension. But the moment you let go of the rope, the game ends. And guess what? They fall. This isn't giving up, it's taking back your power. Their silence is designed to provoke a response. They want you to break no contact because it reassures them they still matter. When you reach out, they feel powerful, even if they never intended to respond. It's emotional bait. They set the trap expecting you to fall right in. But when you stay silent, not as a tactic but as a decision, you shatter the entire structure they built. Suddenly, they're the one waiting, checking their phone, wondering why you haven't cracked yet. Ever notice how someone who ghosted you suddenly reappears after months of silence? Just when you've started to move on? That's not coincidence, that's the game. They weren't missing you, they were missing control. They expected you to chase, to check, to care. But when you stop giving them that energy, they lose everything. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." You can't control their behavior, but you can control how you react. Choosing silence isn't about manipulation. It's about protecting your energy, your peace, and your self-worth. It's about stepping out of their emotional loop entirely. And here's the twist. If they never reach out, they were never meant for your future. Sometimes silence reveals the truth you were too afraid to face. They weren't playing a game, they were the game, and the only way to win was to walk away. Let them wonder. Let them sit in their silence while you rise in yours. Don't give them the satisfaction of knowing they still affect you. True power comes when you're not just playing no contact, you're living beyond it. Drop this in the comments. I refuse to play. Declare it. Own it. Because in a world where people hide behind games and fake confidence, your authenticity is the ultimate power move. Let's keep going, because there's more to expose. But hey, if at this point you have any questions, thoughts lingering, or something on your mind, come on, drop it in the comments. Let's discuss it together. And if everything is starting to feel crystal clear, if this message hit where it needed to, this video really deserves a like. So please, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this truth today. Let's keep growing, because your story isn't over. It's just getting started. Number 2, ego is their shield, not their strength. So folks, don't get fooled. They're not doing no contact because they love you. No, it's not about love, regret, or missing you. It's ego. Pure, stubborn, relentless ego. The thing about ego is that it's not built on love or connection. It's built on control, on maintaining an illusion of power. Right now, while you're thinking about them, wondering if they're hurting the way you are, they're sitting there holding onto their ego like it's a shield. They're using silence not as a way to reflect or heal, but as a way to avoid looking weak. It's not vulnerability they're showing, it's emotional armor. Their ego tells them that reaching out means losing. Admitting they miss you means surrendering the upper hand. So they stay silent, not because they're at peace, but because they can't risk appearing like they care. Their mind whispers, "If I reach out, I lose." Imagine a castle surrounded by towering walls, built stone by stone to keep everything out. Those walls are their ego. They'd rather sit alone, protected by that cold, unyielding fortress, than risk opening the gates and being vulnerable. But what they fail to realize is that those same walls that keep pain out also keep love and connection locked inside. The great philosopher Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." But ego isn't brave. It's terrified. Ego fears rejection, fears appearing desperate, fears you having the upper hand. Their silence is fear wrapped in fake confidence. They've built their entire self-image on appearing unaffected, and breaking no contact would shatter that illusion. They can't let that happen, not because they don't care, but because they care too much about how they're seen. Think of a child refusing to admit they're wrong, crossing their arms, stomping their feet. That's what ego looks like in no contact. It's emotional stubbornness, not strength. Ego screams, "I'm fine without you," while silently checking your status, wondering if you'll break first. This is where people get stuck, thinking silence means indifference. But silence driven by ego is anything but. It's restless, calculating, and exhausting. It's like a duck on a calm lake, gliding smoothly on the surface while paddling like crazy underneath. They may seem calm, but inside, their mind is spinning. Are they thinking about me? Are they missing me? Should I reach out? No, I can't. They need to break first. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike the one who caused the injury." So while they hide behind their ego, you rise beyond it. Ego ties them down, keeps them stuck in a cycle of control and fear. But when you let go of needing their response, their approval, their validation, you become untouchable. Ever seen someone post endless "living my best life" photos after a breakup? That's ego on display. It's the desperate need to be seen as unbothered. But ask yourself this: if they were truly at peace, would they need an audience? Would they need to perform happiness? True peace doesn't need validation. It simply exists. Imagine a glass vase sitting on the edge of a shelf. It looks stable, solid, impressive, until the slightest nudge sends it crashing to the floor. That's ego. It only seems strong. Real strength doesn't come from stubborn silence. It comes from vulnerability, from facing emotions head-on without hiding behind a facade. The ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu once said, "He who conquers others is strong. He who conquers himself is mighty." They're focused on controlling you when they can't even control themselves. They let ego drive the car, making them too proud to speak up, too fearful to show any softness. But here's the kicker: ego is loud when it's desperate. If they truly didn't care, if they were truly at peace, they wouldn't need to play games. They wouldn't need no contact as a shield. They wouldn't need to win anything. Their silence isn't strength, it's survival. It's a defense mechanism, not power. They wear their ego like a suit of armor, thinking it makes them invincible. But armor also weighs you down. It isolates. It exhausts. While they sit in their emotional fortress, guarded and calculating, you don't have to. You can choose peace. You can rise above the need for control, for validation, for playing games. Your worth isn't determined by whether they break no contact or not. Epictetus said, "We suffer not from events, but from our judgments about them." They are suffering, not because of what happened, but because of what they fear might happen if they admit they still care. But you're free the moment you stop waiting for them to crack. You win by not playing. Drop this in the comments: "I rise above ego." Declare it, own it, because in a world where people hide behind games and emotional shields, your freedom is the ultimate power. Let's keep going, because their next move won't be what you expect. Number 3, waiting for a signal that will never come. So folks, let's be real. And I know you already know this, but waiting for a signal that will never come is one of the hardest truths to accept. You're sitting there, staring at your phone like it holds the power to fix what's broken. You check your notifications, overthink every silence, and scroll through old messages like you're searching for some hidden meaning. But deep down, you know that signal isn't coming. Not the way you want it to. Not the heartfelt apology. Not the sudden realization of your worth. Not the confession that they can't live without you. You know it, but still, you wait. Waiting for that signal is like standing at a deserted train station, hoping a train will arrive, even when the tracks have rusted and the station's been abandoned for years. You know it's pointless, but hope has a way of convincing you otherwise. Hope is powerful, but misplaced hope, it's poison. It keeps you trapped in the past, chained to a possibility that no longer exists, or worse, never existed in the first place. You think, maybe they're just busy. Maybe they'll realize they miss me. But ask yourself, how long have you been waiting? The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche said, "Hope in reality is the worst of all evils because it prolongs the torment of man." And isn't that what waiting does? It keeps you suspended in emotional limbo, trapped between what is and what could be, endlessly replaying scenarios in your mind that will never happen. It's like being a sailor lost at sea, staring at the horizon, waiting for a rescue ship that was never dispatched. The longer you wait, the deeper you drift into isolation and despair. The ship isn't coming, not because you're unworthy, but because they were never the rescue in the first place. Sometimes we convince ourselves that their silence is temporary, that they're just testing the waters, playing a game, or waiting for the right moment to reach out. But let's be brutally honest. If they wanted to reach out, they already would have. People make time for what matters. Silence is their answer. It always has been. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one." In the same way, waste no more time waiting for someone to be what you deserve. Waiting is a form of surrender to false hope, to emotional control, to a past that no longer serves you. Imagine holding an unlit candle in a dark room, convinced that they are the only one who can spark the flame. You stand there in the cold, waiting, while the match you needed was always in your own hands. And here's the harsh truth. Waiting doesn't make them miss you. It doesn't change their mind, fix the past, or undo the pain. It only keeps you stuck, locked in a cycle where every passing day chips away at your self-worth. Think of it like staring at a locked door. You can knock, beg, and wait. But if they never open it, how long will you stand there? How long will you let that closed door define your entire world? Meanwhile, just down the hall, there's another door wide open, waiting for you to step through. But you'll never see it as long as you're fixated on the one that's closed. The Persian poet Rumi once said, "Try not to resist the changes that come your way. Let life live through you. The wound is where the light enters you." Maybe this is your wound, the one you've been afraid to face. But what if this silence, this unanswered signal, is exactly what you needed to set yourself free? You can't control whether they reach out, but you can control how long you wait. You can choose to stop waiting, not because you've given up, but because you've finally woken up. Drop this in the comments. I stop waiting. Declare it. Own it. Because the signal you've been waiting for isn't coming from them. It's coming from within you. Let's move on, because your story isn't over. Number 4. Every day is a win for you. So, folks, here's the truth they don't want you to realize. Every single day you don't break, you win. Every day you stay strong, resist the urge to text, check, or wonder, you're winning. They might think they're in control, but what they don't see is the quiet power you build every day you choose yourself. Staying silent isn't just about not reaching out. It's about showing up for you. It's about rising from the chaos they left behind and turning your energy inward. While they're stuck playing emotional games, you're evolving. They expect you to break, to beg, to crack under the weight of missing them. But every day you don't, you prove them wrong. Think of yourself as a mountain, steady, unmoving and unshaken by the storms that rage around you. The wind can howl, the rain can pour, but the mountain stands tall. That's you. Their silence is just passing weather. You are permanent, grounded, and strong. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You can't control what they do, but every day you don't let their absence control you, you win." You see, no contact isn't about manipulating them or hoping they'll notice your absence. It's about proving to yourself that you can live, thrive, and rise without them. Every morning you wake up and choose peace instead of pain. You've already won. Every time you resist checking your phone, you're reclaiming your power. Every time you let yourself heal, you become someone they'll never be able to reach again. Imagine a flower growing through concrete. The odds are stacked against it. It's supposed to fail, to wither, to be crushed by its harsh environment. But still, it grows. It stretches toward the sun, defying every expectation. You are that flower. Every day you rise, you're showing the world and yourself that you're unstoppable. And let's be honest, they're probably sitting there, assuming you're still stuck on them, still waiting, still hoping. But what they'll never expect is the version of you that's emerging now, stronger, wiser, and untouchable. They thought your silence meant surrender, but it was your rebirth. Every day you choose you, they lose the power they thought they had. They may never admit it, but trust me, they'll feel it. Because there's nothing more powerful than someone who has learned how to live without what they once thought they couldn't survive. Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "That which does not kill us makes us stronger." You've faced the hurt, the rejection, the silence, and you're still here. Still growing, still rising, still winning. So stop measuring your progress by whether or not they've reached out. Stop waiting for their validation or recognition. Every step you take toward your own peace is a victory they can never take from you. Drop this in the comments. I win every day. Declare it. Own it. Because you're not just surviving, you're thriving. And every day you choose yourself, you've already won. Let's keep going, because your best days are still ahead. Number 5. This is about you, not them. So folks, let's set the record straight. This was never about them. It's always been about you, their actions, their silence, their ego-driven games. They don't define your worth, your peace, or your future. The moment you realize this, everything changes. You see, no contact isn't about making them miss you, regret losing you, or come crawling back. That's where so many people get stuck, thinking this whole process is about manipulating their feelings. But the truth is, it's about reclaiming yours. When you pulled back, it wasn't to punish them, it was to free yourself. You stopped chasing not because you gave up, but because you finally understood that you deserve to be pursued too. Their silence isn't your burden to carry, it's their story to live with. Yours is different. It's about choosing yourself for once. Think of a mirror. If you keep looking into it, waiting for it to reflect what you want to see, you'll be stuck forever. But the moment you walk away, you become the reflection, the version of you that no longer depends on them to feel worthy, loved, or whole. Epictetus, the great Stoic philosopher, once said, "No person is free who is not master of themselves." They don't control you unless you let them. They can ignore, manipulate, or play their little games. But you control your response. You control whether you stay trapped in that emotional cycle or break free entirely. This journey was never about making them notice you. It was about you noticing yourself. They might have left, but have you left yourself behind, still waiting at the door they slammed shut? Stop waiting. You're not in that past anymore. You've outgrown that place, that story, that version of you. Imagine you're carrying a heavy backpack filled with stones labeled regret, what ifs, and hope they'll change. Every day, that weight slows you down, but the second you drop it, you're free. You can run, you can breathe, you can live. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." If your mind stays trapped in their world, you'll never be free. But when you focus on you, your growth, your peace, you become unstoppable. So stop measuring your progress by whether or not they reach out. Stop thinking their actions are a reflection of your worth. This isn't their story anymore. It's yours. They may never apologize, never explain, never come back, but you can still move forward. Drop this in the comments. I choose me. Declare it. Own it. Because this was never about them, and it never will be again. Number 6. When they realize too late. So folks, let's set the record straight. This was never about them. It's always been about you. Their actions, their silence, their ego-driven games. They don't define your worth, your peace, or your future. The moment you realize this, everything changes. You see, no contact isn't about making them miss you, regret losing you, or come crawling back. That's where so many people get stuck, thinking this whole process is about manipulating their feelings. But the truth is, it's about reclaiming yours. When you pulled back, it wasn't to punish them, it was to free yourself. You stopped chasing not because you gave up, but because you finally understood that you deserve to be pursued too. Their silence isn't your burden to carry, it's their story to live with. Yours is different. It's about choosing yourself for once. Think of a mirror. If you keep looking into it, waiting for it to reflect what you want to see, you'll be stuck forever. But the moment you walk away, you become the reflection, the version of you that no longer depends on them to feel worthy, loved, or whole. Epictetus, the great Stoic philosopher, once said, "No person is free who is not master of themselves. They don't control you unless you let them. They can ignore, manipulate, or play their little games. But you control your response. You control whether you stay trapped in that emotional cycle or break free entirely." This journey was never about making them notice you. It was about you noticing yourself. They might have left, but have you left yourself behind, still waiting at the door they slammed shut? Stop waiting. You're not in that past anymore. You've outgrown that place, that story, that version of you. Imagine you're carrying a heavy backpack filled with stones labeled regret, what ifs, and hope they'll change. Every day, that weight slows you down. But the second you drop it, you're free. You can run, you can breathe, you can live. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. If your mind stays trapped in their world, you'll never be free. But when you focus on you, your growth, your peace, you become unstoppable. So stop measuring your progress by whether or not they reach out. Stop thinking their actions are a reflection of your worth. This isn't their story anymore, it's yours. They may never apologize, never explain, never come back, but you can still move forward. Drop this in the comments. I choose me. Declare it. Own it. Because this was never about them, and it never will be again. Number 7. Rising without looking back. So, folks, there comes a point when you have to stop looking over your shoulder, wondering if they'll come back, if they'll notice what they lost, or if they'll ever regret letting you go. The truth is, you can't rise while looking back. Every time you glance behind, you're dragging the past into your future. And that's a weight you don't need. You've done the waiting. You've played out every possible what-if in your mind. You've imagined them returning with apologies, grand gestures, or sudden realizations. But let's be real. If they were meant to be part of your story, they'd already be here. Looking back is like driving with your eyes glued to the rearview mirror. You'll miss every opportunity ahead while focusing on what's behind you. You can't rewrite the past, but you can create a future where their absence is irrelevant. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "The obstacle is the way." The thing you thought would break you, the rejection, the silence, the unanswered questions, is the very thing shaping you into someone stronger. Every time you choose to rise instead of reaching back, you win. Imagine a hot air balloon trying to lift off while still tethered to the ground. No matter how much it wants to soar, it can't. Not until it cuts the ropes holding it down. That's you. The ropes are your lingering thoughts, unanswered texts, and hopes that they'll change. But the second you cut those ties, you rise. Think of it this way. If they couldn't appreciate you then, they won't know how to value the new, stronger version of you now. You've evolved past the version of you they knew. Looking back only slows your progress. Why waste your power on people who couldn't see your worth when you were at your lowest? Friedrich Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Your why isn't them, it's you. You're building a future so bright that their absence becomes irrelevant. You're becoming someone they'll never have access to again, not out of revenge, but because you've simply outgrown them. They might expect you to reach out, to miss them, to wait in silence like you always did. But this time, you've moved on. They were only a chapter. You're writing a whole new story. Let them wonder. Let them question. While you live so fully that your name becomes their unanswered question. Drop this in the comments. I rise without looking back. Declare it. Own it. Because your future doesn't need what's behind you. It never did. Number 8. Learn to love the uncertainty. So folks, let's talk about something most people run from: uncertainty. The unknown is uncomfortable, unsettling, and sometimes even painful. But here's the thing: you can learn to love it. In fact, learning to embrace uncertainty is the greatest freedom you'll ever experience, especially when dealing with no contact and the psychology behind it. When someone goes silent, your mind instantly craves answers. You want closure, explanations, and clarity. You want to know what they're thinking, whether they miss you, if they'll ever reach out, or if it's truly over. But here's the harsh truth: you're not entitled to answers. And the longer you wait for them, the longer you stay trapped in emotional limbo. Imagine standing in front of a fog-covered path. You can't see where it leads, but you have two choices: stand still, paralyzed by uncertainty, or take the next step, trusting that you will find your way. Most people choose to stand still, waiting for the fog to clear, but life doesn't work like that. The path only reveals itself when you move. The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once said, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards." The unknown isn't the enemy. Fear of the unknown is. Every time you resist uncertainty, you hand over control to something outside yourself. But when you lean into it, when you accept that you won't always know what's next, you set yourself free. The psychology behind no contact is built on uncertainty. They're not reaching out. You're not reaching out. Neither of you knows what the other is thinking. But that's the point. Both sides are playing a silent game where uncertainty is the battlefield. The question is, who will break first? But here's the twist. You don't have to play. You can learn to sit in the uncertainty without crumbling, without reacting, and without giving your power away. They expect you to be restless, anxious, and desperate for answers. But what they'll never expect is your calm acceptance of not knowing. Imagine a river flowing steadily through a winding canyon. The river doesn't know where the next bend will take it, but it keeps flowing, trusting its path. You are that river. You don't need to see the entire journey. You just need to keep moving, flowing through life with confidence, even when the destination is unclear. One of the biggest traps of uncertainty is expectation. You expect them to miss you, to reach out, to explain themselves, and when they don't, it breaks you. But what if you let go of expectations entirely? What if you stopped waiting for something to happen and simply allowed life to unfold? The ancient Greek playwright Euripides once wrote, "The wisest men follow their own direction." You can't control what they do, but you can control how long you let uncertainty hold you hostage. Think of yourself as a tree in the middle of a storm. The wind howls, the rain pours, and the ground shakes. But the tree stands tall, rooted, and resilient. It doesn't fight the storm because it knows the storm will pass. You are that tree. No matter how chaotic life gets, you are grounded by yourself, not by what anyone else does or doesn't do. Let me remind you, uncertainty doesn't mean failure. It doesn't mean you've been forgotten or abandoned. It means you're living in a space where anything is possible. When you accept uncertainty, you stop chasing answers and start creating a life that doesn't depend on their actions. Imagine being a sailor navigating uncharted waters. You can't see the shore, but you keep sailing, guided by the stars. You trust the process, not because you know the outcome, but because you know yourself. The shore will appear when the time is right, but until then, you keep moving. The writer Anais Nin once said, "Life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage." Maybe the very uncertainty you're running from is the thing that will help you grow the most. Maybe the wound left by their silence is the place where your new life begins. So how do you love uncertainty when every instinct tells you to fight it? You start by accepting that you don't need all the answers right now. You stop needing closure from someone who couldn't even offer consistency. You focus on the things you can control, your growth, your happiness, and your peace. They may never reach out. They may never explain. They may never regret leaving, but that's their journey, not yours. You're free the moment you stop waiting for something outside yourself to make you feel whole. Here's the reality most people miss. Closure isn't given. It's created. It comes when you stop needing answers and start living in the now. It comes when you realize that not knowing isn't a weakness. It's an opportunity for transformation. Drop this in the comments. I embrace the unknown. Declare it. Own it. Because when you stop fearing what comes next, you've already won. Your future isn't behind you. It's unfolding right now. Let's keep moving, because the best part of your journey is just beginning. So here's the truth, folks. No contact isn't about them. It's about you. It's about reclaiming your power, finding your strength, and learning to live without needing closure, explanations, or apologies. You've been holding on to their silence like it defines you, but it doesn't. It never did. They thought your silence meant defeat, but it was your rebirth. They expected you to break, to chase, to care, But instead, you rose. And while they sit there playing games fueled by ego and pride, you've already won. Not because they came back, but because you moved on. The greatest revenge isn't making them miss you. It's building a life so full, so powerful, that they become irrelevant. So let them wonder. Let them question. While they play the same old game, you've left the arena. Now, if this message hit home, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs this truth today. Drop a comment with "I've already won" to declare your strength and show the world you're done waiting. Remember, your power isn't in what they do, it's in how you rise. This is your journey, your story, and it's only just beginning. See you in the next video. Star.